I was well known in Scotland. The first one is the fact that I was even born. My mother, a princess, was raped, and her father was so horrified that he had thrown her to her death, but she survived. I was born around 530, baptized by Saint Cerf, and who raised me to be a monk. I must have been one of his favorites, for though he trained others, he called me Mungo, which means dear one. While I was only a boy, I performed my first miracle when I brought back to life a robin that had been killed by other boys. Throughout my life, I performed other miracles that I don't have time to mention now. I began my missionary work around age 30, when I was to bury the holy man named Fergus. I placed his body on a cart yoked to 2 wild oxen, and the Lord led us to a lovely glen. I named the place Glasgow, which means dear green place. There I built a church on the spot where Glasgow Cathedral stands today. I became a bishop. In my later life, I was visited by Columba. Though my practices were more Roman than Celtic, we embraced, had long conversations, and exchanged our pastoral staffs. After my death on the 13th of January, 612, after that I was canonized a saint. I was buried in the chapel under the Glasgow Cathedral, and am now known as the patron saint of Glasgow. My feast day is celebrated every year in Glasgow Cathedral on January 13th.
I am Columba, which means the dove. I was born in 521 AD, descended from kings on both my father's and mother's side. Early on, I showed scholarly and clerical ability. St. Patrick of Ireland foretold my birth in a prophecy. He will be a saint and will be devout. He will be abbot, the king of royal graces. He will be lasting and forever good. The eternal kingdom will be mine by his protection. When I was 42, after having established many monasteries in Ireland, a dozen companions and I set out for the northern Britain. Our small leather-covered wicker coracle washed ashore at a small island of Iona, which was eventually given to us. I founded a monastery which became a school for missionaries and a center for conversion of Picts, as well as the only center of literacy and education in the region. My disciples and I went out to found other monasteries in Ireland, including the famous Lindisfarne Monastery in Northumbria. During this time, many miracles were attributed to me. In 597, while at work copying the words, "They that love the Lord shall lack no good thing," from a psalter, I rested for a while. Later, I was found dead in front of the altar with a smile on my face. I was quoted later by my biographer Aidan as having said, "This day is called in the sacred scriptures a day of rest, and today to me it will be such, for it is the last of my life, and I shall enter into rest after the fatigues of my labors." I died on the eve of Pentecost. My feast day is June 6th. On June 24th, 2014, the Venerable Mary Cocket and 13 companions arrived weary from travel by plane, train, ferry, bus, and ferry to a welcoming bed and breakfast and comfortable beds. Our time on St. Columba's Island was relaxing, refreshing, and invigorating. There was a time for prayer, reflection, services, learning, hiking, and just being. We left Iona refreshed and looking forward to following in Columba's footsteps and beyond. Iona is sometimes called a thin place, where there is a feeling of being closer to God. As we traveled back by ferry, bus, ferry, train, and train, we had time to contemplate our time on this cool, sunny island where we felt that closeness to God, and to bring the messages of the saints into our souls and back home with us.
I am Aidan of Lindisfarne, the apostle of Northumbria. followed the early apostolic model of conversion by offering them first the milk of gentle doctrine to bring them by degrees, while nourishing them with the divine word. By patiently talking to the people on their own level, and by taking an active interest in their lives and communities, my monks and I slowly restored Christianity to the Northumbrian countryside. I founded a monastic cathedral on the island of Lindisfarne and served as its first bishop. One of the miracles attributed to me was in 651, a pagan army attacked nearby Bamberg and attempted to set its walls ablaze. I saw the black smoke, recognized its cause, and knelt in prayer for the fate of the city. Miraculously, the winds abruptly reversed their course, blowing the conflagration toward the enemy, which convinced them that the capital city was defended by potent spiritual forces. I died on August 31st, 651, at the age of 61. I had become ill while on one of my incessant missionary tours, and died leaning against the wall of the local church. This day is also my feast day.
As a boy, I, Cuthbert, tended sheep on the mountainside near the monastery of Melrose. Always have I been content with the contemplative life offered by such an occupation. But alas, like you, perhaps, God had other plans for the life given us. At 16, I had a vision that inspired me to join the community of Melrose. But the quiet life of a monk was not mine yet. The turbulence of the times called me to be a soldier. Some years later, as peace was restored to Northumbria, I found myself free to pursue the monastic life. My order practiced and preferred the Celtic custom of Christianity. But in 664, the Synod of Whitby decided in favor of the Roman usage. What could we do but accept their decision as God's will and seek to unite with all believers? So at Lindisfarne, I spent myself evangelizing the people with all gentleness and patience. At length, I sought a life of greater austerity and removed to Farne Island. Here, I would have gladly stayed, but the church had one more request of me and elected me bishop. For 2 more years, I labored for church unity until my death. I am the patron saint of Durham, England, and cathedral, and many miracles are attributed to me. My feast day is March 20th.
My name is Hild, but most know me as Hilda. I was born in 614 into a royal family of northern England. I learned Christianity from a friend of Augustine's way down in Canterbury and was baptized at 13. When I was 33, I was all set to join a convent in Gaul when Bishop Aidan of Lindisfarne called me to join a small community where I learned about Celtic monasticism. A few years later, Aidan asked me to establish a monastery at Whitby, high on a bluff overlooking the North Sea. We lived in the Celtic style of 2 or 3 people in each house. Men and women lived there, separately, but we all worshipped, worked, and studied together. They often called me Mother. I loved teaching and encouraged many in their studies. 5 of my monks went on to become bishops. Kings and many others made pilgrimage to Whitby to seek my advice and experience this holy place. Cuthbert and I were good friends. In 633, the king chose my abbey to hold an important meeting called a synod, where it was decided once and for all to follow certain Roman practices. And so we gave up many of our Celtic ways. I went along with the decision, but many did not, and went back to Iona and to Ireland. One legend about me is that I turned a bunch of stakes into stone. This was the reason there were ammonite fossils on the beach. The ammonite genus, Hildoceras, was age 66. I am considered the patron saint of learning and culture, especially poetry. Schools for girls around the world are named for me.
I am the Venerable Bede. I was born in 672 and died in 735. I spent all of my life in Northumbria. In Old English, my name Bede means prayer, and I think that my parents intended me to become and live among clergy. Indeed, and was the custom for family of noble status, at the age of 7, I was sent to be educated and mentored at a nearby monastery in Mungo, which is modern-day Jaro. As a scholar, scientist, and theologian, I am most known as a historian for writing the history of the English people. In 686, when I was 14, plague broke out at Jaro, and only myself and the abbot survived. The two of us kept the monastery in operation with its liturgy, morning and evening prayers, and the maintenance of its library. I became a deacon at the early age of 19. Usually, ordination would be after the age of 25, as my bishop considered me to be gifted and exceptional. Throughout my life, I had the joyous opportunity to study historical and classical works. I learned to speak and write in a variety of languages, including Greek, Latin, and Hebrew. Through my research and studies, I produced several narratives and commentaries on books in the Old Testament, as well as a few Gospels. I became intensely interested in time and made arguments and basis for how the date of Easter is calculated. I am credited with popularizing the Anno Domini AD dating system. And through years of celestial observation, measurements of the seasons, and studies of chronology, I deduced that the earth is spherical. I relish in accuracy and the opening of knowledge to others, regardless their background. Perhaps in my role as a teacher and mentor, I learned the most. I hope to inspire those seeking to be closer to God to do as I have, by asking questions, to think and explore, observe, calculate, imagine, and dare oneself to learn new things, as well as find ways to communicate and share their knowledge. I have felt that faith brought by miracles is a stepping stone to a higher, truer faith, and that as a result, miracles have their place in a work designed to instruct.
Almighty God, you have knit together your people in one communion and fellowship in the mystical body of your Son, Christ our Lord. Now give us grace to follow your blessed saints in all virtuous and godly living, who may come to those joys that you have